Okay, I think we're recording. Yay! So hello, welcome to the launch of Sarah Says. I am super excited about this, and I just want to go through a few things. I want to just give you all a welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I am Sarah Zink. I created Sarah Says as a platform to help you ask and answer the question about what happens next. I think that we all know we live in a very messy world. Things seem a little batshit crazy right now. And as I watch the madness, I recognize that there are some things that I have learned through the work that I do and the spiritual, mental, emotional growth that I've experienced in the last 20 years, things that I know and take for granted that not everybody knows. And so my purpose is to help shine a light on ways that we can all more successfully navigate the madness that we're experiencing right now, take more control over things that we feel like we have no control over, and that we can actually thrive in a period of time where a lot of people are struggling. I find myself struggling from time to time. I'm sure many of you are. Those of you who've reached out to me have shared your stories. And so after a lot of prayer and meditation and asking, God and the angels, what am I supposed to be doing? This is one of the answers that I received to the question about what happens next for me. And so I want to start with a little disclaimer. And I think it's super important that we all start on the same page. So I want to just share something with you, and it is this. I am not a medical doctor. I am not a therapist, counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist. I am a passionate person who's a behaviorist who has a heartfelt desire to help people. And so if you're under the care of any licensed professional, please follow their directions. Do not stop, start or change any treatment, medication or treatment plan without consulting with them first. And it's just super important that you, stay aware and true to what it is you're supposed to be doing. And so there's that. Had to do that part. So I want to tell you a little bit about who am I, what am I doing here. I am a survivor. I will explain all that to you in a little bit. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm extremely passionate about our spiritual growth. I've omitted that. I must confess and out myself here. I've omitted the spiritual aspect of who we are and what we're doing in this world for 10, 15 years, because for me it was a painful past of how I was raised religiously. And so I've spent the last almost 60 days now in some very intense spiritual training with some very wise advisors who really have helped me wrap my heart and mind around including spirituality and spiritual development. Hey, Lori Conklin and Erica and Carla Green. It helped me wrap my brain around how to incorporate that. We are spiritual beings having physical experiences. And so that's a little bit about who I am. But I think more importantly, I think it's important what qualifies me to do this. And I think that I would be remiss if I did not establish early on, who do I think I am, kind of thing. So I want to start with what qualifies me to actually lead a workshop series on how to navigate these difficult times. Well, we'll start with the basics of, I have a college education. I had some focus areas in psychology, elementary and adult education, as well as biblical studies. I also have 20 years of global corporate experience. I have been a coach, a consultant, and a trainer in the areas of teaching people how to communicate effectively, how to behave or play well with others, how to understand their own behaviors, emotional intelligence as it relates to working with others and establishing our goals and reaching our goals, as well as agility, process improvement, time and attention management. I've most recently become a certified master life coach, and I am niche certified in a few areas, including life purpose, emotional intelligence, happiness, achieving your goals or goal success, as well as spiritual awareness. This is all the cerebral stuff that really qualifies me. But as they say in the commercials, but wait, there's more. Beyond my education, my corporate experience, and certifications, I would be extremely remiss if I did not take time to explain to you that I have had a full life experience with my own struggles with pain and difficulties. And I'm going to share those with you. I don't believe I've ever really shared those in public before. And it isn't about comparing pain, but I think it's important that I offer up my experience as a foundation for me to share how I worked through the residue of pain and guilt and trauma to become more whole and healthy. And so I'm not going to belabor all of this in the 12 workshops. I'm going to refer people to come back here because I don't want to share this over and over. When I say I'm a survivor, I was sexually and physically abused as a child. My dad died in prison. He was an extremely bad man, and our family suffered tremendously from his sexual and physical abuse. I also experienced, beyond the domestic violence that I experienced as I watched my dad abuse my mom, I perpetrated the cycle and had not my first marriage. He was wonderful, but my second marriage was an abusive one, as well as I had a few bad boyfriends. And again, you don't understand why, but we'll talk about that. But part of it is just perpetrating the cycle. I've had unwanted sexual advantages and experienced date rape. My mother had a mental illness. We grew up, it was a very difficult childhood for all of us. And I've had unhealthy relationships, both romantic and platonic. And by unhealthy, you name it, I probably have done it, experienced it, participated in it, just extremely unhealthy relationships. And I have struggled with various addictions, not drugs, but pretty much food, sex, alcohol. I have struggled with these addictions up until about the time that I was 40. And I think it's important, as I'm talking about the 12 steps, that you understand that this is not 12 steps to overcome addiction. This is not 12 steps to achieve some other things. This is literally 12 steps for health and healing. This is what saved me. When I was about 40 years old, I, at a moment in time, found myself laying on the floor in an apartment by myself. I had chosen to send my children to live with my first husband at a time when that was not a popular choice. But my sister, God love her, said, this isn't about you, Sarah. This is about your children. And so I'm laying on the floor in an apartment, sobbing hysterically, saying, is this it? Is this my life? What's the point? And at that moment, I realized some truisms that I had heard, which actually saved me. One is, it's never too late to become the person you might have been. And the second one is, take control of your destiny or everyone else will. And so at that moment, I had to make a choice. Am I going to move forward or am I going to stop? And I chose to change. I chose to grow. I chose to think differently. I chose to take a painful look at myself. And, 20 years later, I have come to a place where I am not fully healed, but I am more whole than I have ever been, more mentally and spiritually and emotionally healthy than I've ever been. Physically, I'm healthier than I've been. After I've learned a lot in the last 20 years. Through 3 marriages, I've lost 120 pounds. I learned how to be a parent, learned how to be a grandparent. I, have bought and sold businesses. And, I just want you to remember And the reason I'm sharing all of this is not to compare pain, and certainly, not to toot my own horn, but to tell you that, I don't know how you feel, but I do know how it feels. And I want you to see, don't just take my word for it. I'm going to show you a picture here. This is the last 20 years. And I have evolved internally as much as I've evolved externally. And some of it has been incredibly painful. And then quite a bit of it has certainly been glorious. And I want you to be able to experience that same thing. It may not take you 20 years. I would suspect that I am a bit of a slow learner. And so, so the question then becomes, why do I want to help? And, I've tried to establish, who do I think I am? I've tried to, share with you, I don't know how you feel, but I know how it feels. So then the question becomes, why am I doing this? And so here's the why for me. And the why is this. I believe the earth is evolving. I believe that the earth is ascending, that we live in third density, meaning, it's just all about what we can see and hear and feel and taste in this world, but that we are, the earth is evolving. It is ascending from a lower vibration to a higher vibration, with or without us. And quite frankly, I would like to be part of that ascension. I want to grow. I want to continue growing. And if it's on a cosmic level, then even better. I believe since 2017, there have been waves of incoming energy that affect us. 2017, I was batshit crazy with these energies because I just didn't know what to do with it. Your year may have been the same or different, but every time we grow, then there's a new wave of energies and we feel a little bit crazier, or a little bit more behind the eight ball. And these waves just keep coming. And as I understand it, we're only about halfway through. And if you think things are batshit crazy now, they're going to get worse for the people who don't know how to navigate it. And that's why I am doing this, because I believe I know something that I can share with you that will help you navigate this madness. If you're an empath, I'm an empath. I'm a lifelong empath. I have learned to feel the people around me, whether I wanted to or not. For the longest time, I thought I was crazy. I've learned how to build barriers that keep out these unwanted emotional energies. But many of you are suffering. Many of you don't even know what's going on and why you feel the way you do. And I am not the person to help you as an empath, but I know a bunch of people that I can refer you to who can be very helpful to you. I'm going to be making a lot of referrals to spiritual guides, to people who specialize in helping with empaths, to people who specialize in helping with cognitive functioning awareness. How can you deal with how you feel? And of course, these workshops that I'm offering are ways that I believe this is my purpose. So what's in it for me? I'm going to be as transparent as possible. I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm paying it forward for all the people that have helped me along the way. And of course, it would be crazy for me not to say, I didn't get all these certificates for no reason. If you need help and you can afford it, it's $45 for a 45-minute session. If you can't afford it, talk to me. This isn't about money, okay? This is about, how do we change the world? How do we unify together? How do we hold hands together? Hey, Suzanne and Wendy and Kyla and Tony and, oh my goodness, Teresa, Mary Elizabeth, Kenny, Lisa. Wow, thank y'all so much. So I want to help because it's my purpose. And I think if you think about each of us becoming empowered to use our own power, and then as a ripple, think about this. I have the means, the motive, the opportunity, the purpose to be doing this. This may not be your purpose to get up in front of people and talk, but your purpose may be to take what you learn and enact it in your life, or to show other people how to do this. But there's enough negative madness going on that those of us who believe in a better way, those of us who believe that there's more, that we can all unite in love and service, may have lost our way as to how to do that. And so how I want to help is this free 12-week workshop. I want to show you how to raise your vibration. In these 12 weeks, I want to be able to connect you with resources beyond me. This isn't just about me. This is about the tribe of people who can help you. I want to also guide you on how to connect with your higher self, your angels, your spirit guides. How do you manage your emotional intelligence? How do you tap into your personal power? The 12 steps that we're going to be going through. Let me get you that. Those 12 steps are, we're going to talk about developing your emotional intelligence. And that means, how do you manage how you feel? How do you know what you're feeling? How do you respond to what you're feeling? And then what do you do with what you're feeling? We're going to talk about gratitude. And it's not that sappy ass, life is great, even, though everything's falling apart. It's, yes, the world's on fire, but I am okay. I have the power to enact change in my own life. It's sugar-free positivity. It isn't faking it. It's finding that place of pure and true gratitude for who we are and what we are. We're going to talk about being good to yourself, which is way more than bubble baths and bonbons. We have been tricked. Billions of dollars has been put into the media industry to trick us into what's being good to ourselves. And that's usually shopping and chocolate and buying stuff. And we keep wondering why we feel empty and bereft of comfort and satisfaction. And it's because we're not really being good to ourselves. And so we're going to talk about, what does that really mean? And it's different for each one of us. A really hard one that was very difficult for me to experience, but that, as I've shared with other people, it's life-changing, is the true nature of forgiveness. And I believe that we were made by one infinite creator for love and service. And that means loving ourselves and loving each other, being of service to ourselves and being of service to others. Well, part of that means forgiving ourselves and forgiving others, but I believe we've been taught all wrong about what that is. And so in week 4, we're going to have some painful discussions about what forgiveness is and how to eliminate our ego and blame and excuses. We're also going to talk about purpose. Now, this isn't passion. This isn't, ooh, I got to find who I am. And when I find my purpose, poof, life will be great. That's really not how that works. Finding your purpose may be painful. It may be way different than what you think it is, but we're going to talk about some techniques to do that, some spiritual attunements that you can do yourself that will help you connect with your higher self, that will help you connect with your spirit guides, to be still and know what is your purpose. We're going to talk about being productive and not just busy. In week 6, we right now in particular are losing our minds, I think, because there's so much silence. We're used to being busy, busy, busy. And now we're actually faced with our voices and our names and our, how we talk to ourselves. And, oh, hey, Tony and Teresa and Kyla. Good to see you. So we're going to talk about productivity isn't always cranking things out either. Productivity is meaningful use of your time, which sometimes waiting is the activity. Silence is the activity. Being still and meditating is being productive. We're also going to talk about watching your language, in the sense that I'm not going to tell you to quit swearing. I'm going to tell you that words mean things, and that we're saying things that tell our brain something, and our brain believes us. That prefrontal cortex, the reticular activating system, you tell it something and it believes it. And so you're telling your brain that you're stupid or that the world is going to hell, which it feels like it is, but it doesn't have to be that way. We have way more power than we realize. And I want you to be able to retake that personal power through these 12 steps. We're going to talk about self-compassion, and how do you give yourself grace? And what's the line between grace and excuses? What's the line between, oh, I'm an exception, or this is an exception, and making excuses? And we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about fearless living, which is going to be something different for everybody. But how do we live fearlessly? How do we live fearlessly? Particularly right now, when it seems like there's a lot to be anxious about. observing without judgment, recognizing that patterns matter, and being present in the moment. This is what that 12-step series is about. And I'm excited about it. This is what was laid in my heart, that the 12 steps needed to be. And so every week there will be a free workshop with 30 minutes of me talking, and then there'll be 30 minutes of Q&A. And so in about another few minutes, we're going to have Q&A with all of you who are on the call right now. I'm thrilled that there's so many of you, and I want to thank you for being there. So what do you have to do? I got to tell you, this is not just for you to come on and watch me be silly, or hear something that I say and you feel all warm and fuzzy and you go away and feel good until something comes up. There's actually some action items for you. And the first one is you have to choose. You have to choose to change. I don't know about you. I am not unhappy right now. I have some inconveniences in my life. There are some stress factors, but I'm choosing right now that I don't get today back. And so I have to make today valuable. And I want you to choose. What is your life going to look like going forward? We cannot control many things, and this show is not going to even go into all of that. What I do want to focus on is choose to control the things you can control, and that means you got to change, and it's going to be a little uncomfortable, and quite frankly, it may feel silly. Some of the things I ask you to do, you're like, I don't know, that seems kind of weird. But I've got to tell you, the only way your life is going to change is if you change. I can't tell you the number of people that I have who come to me who want their life to change, but they don't want to do anything different. So the first thing you have to do is choose. You have to choose to change. The second thing is you have to commit to it. Going through all these workshops and not choosing to change or committing to change, it's kind of like paying or getting a free fitness coach, and you don't change. You don't do anything different. You're still going to be fat and unhealthy. So this is about spiritual training, emotional training, and you've got to commit to this. Watching these videos is another thing for you to do. You may need to hear the precepts over and over, and I'm going to offer handouts, and I'm going to give you connections to other people, particularly when we talk about the spiritual things. Tony DeMaio is my spiritual coach. There's a Dr. Michael Evans, who is a fabulous coach for empaths, and he has a lot of free resources. There's a lot of engagement, which is the next thing is, you have to do the work. There's going to be homework. There's going to be, people that you can reach out to, people you can talk to. And then finally, you need to share this with other people who need it. This isn't about me. This is about you sharing information with people who may be on the verge of losing their shit right now. And whether or not you share my videos, share the thoughts that you resonate with. Share the things that mean something that you think could help somebody else. Because we literally give up our power every single day when we succumb to being inundated with all the negativity and say, well, that's just the way it is. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. We can choose. We can make different choices, and we can actually enact in our own lives. We have to enact in our own lives the change that we want to see in the world. So that is who I am, why I'm qualified to do it, why I want to do this, how I'm going to do it, and what you need to do. So for the next little bit, I'm here to talk to you. And do you have any questions? Do you have any topics that you think I need to be sure to cover? Do you have any problem solving that you want to be sure, that I deal with? There's about maybe a 30-second or 1-minute delay between me talking to the Zoom and my feed from Facebook. So if there's a little delay in my responding to you, forgive me for that. But I just want you to know that I'm literally at your service to help you navigate through this. And so you feeding back to me via comments, you can also go to the Sarah Says page. You can message me through Facebook that way. So there's a lot of stuff. So I'm going to pause here for just a moment and see if any of you have any questions, or if you have any comments on topics that you want to talk about. And so I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got a couple questions. Lynn Norman is asking, how do we calm down? And so I'm going to start with that one because until we actually get to that, so we are all extremely stressed. And so, Lynn, what I want to tell you is the biggest thing that we are never told or that we don't think about is when we're stressed, our amygdala, which is our lizard brain, thinks that we're being attacked. Now, our lizard brain does not know the difference between a physical attack or an attack on our ego or our sense of well-being. And so with all the craziness that's going on in the world right now, we feel anxious. And so our lizard brain thinks that we're being attacked. And so the funny in a sad, pathetic way, thing about our amygdala is that it doesn't think our brain is an important feature in protecting us. And so it's called chronic stress, and what happens is our amygdala is always in high gear, is always pumping out chemicals, but what else it's doing is shorting our brain of oxygen, literally. And so what can end up happening is we can lose as much as 30 IQ points when we're stressed. And I don't know about you guys, but I do not have 30 IQ points to spare. And so all these years when we've heard people say, take big breaths, take deep breaths to calm yourself, none of them ever explained why. And this is why, because when you're stressed, your body's cutting off oxygen to your brain. And so the biggest thing to do, the first thing to do when you're stressed is to literally breathe big, deep breaths. We'll talk a little bit more about stress management, but if there's anything I can tell you today is big breaths. And then the second thing is to control the input. A lot of times we're not controlling the input, we're eating mental junk food. And so 2 big things for today, Lynn, in answer to your question about stress is how do you calm down? And I would say the breathing and control the input. Kelly Kaminsky, you've drawn a blank. Well, you can PM me for sure. And so Tony says, what is the first step when a person decides that they have the option to choose to retake your power? I am so glad that you asked that question because it's actually your homework for this week. So for the next 48 hours until our first session, I want every one of you, this is going to be really hard. When we need to retake our personal power, the first thing we have to do is observe where we are. And so for the next 48 hours, so it's Monday about noon. So for the next 48 hours, or if you're just watching this, I want you to observe yourself without judgment. That means that you're going to observe how you're functioning. How are you handling things? How are you spending your time? What emotions are you experiencing? So the first thing, the first action item when you're looking to retake your personal power is to realize at what point you are, how much personal power are you giving up? You may not even realize that you're responding like an amoeba all day, every day, to all the stimuli that's coming into your life. And so because we're doing that, we do feel lost. We do feel on edge. We do feel as if we've lost our grasp of control. We've lost our grasp on hope. We've lost our grasp on different things. And so the first thing to do, and it is your homework for the next 48 hours, is to observe without judgment. You don't need to beat yourself up for, oh, I ate a pint of ice cream, the whole thing, and I sat and watched TV for 4 hours. Okay, so that's what you did. It is a way of giving up your personal power, but don't beat yourself up about it. Just observe without judgment where you're at. And then once we do that, you're going to pick what is the most egregious thing that's in your life that you need to work on. Suzanne asks, everybody is on edge right now, and how do we help each other? And particularly, yes, we're dealing with grief on top of grief. Very good question. In Suzanne's case, both of her parents are extremely ill and dying. I don't know a nice way to say that, Suzanne. So we're all struggling. We're all dealing with different things. And so how do we help each other? The first thing I think we need to do is give each other grace. Our temptation right now is to write scripts, is to write backstories, is to infer motive and intent. Oh, they did that because, they said that because, they didn't do that because. And so we're writing scripts about what's going on in the world and why people are treating us this way, when the reality is we have to recognize, quite frankly, very little of what happens to us is about us. The way people are talking to us probably isn't about us. It's about what's going on with them. And so to Suzanne's question, I'm going to read it again. Everybody is on edge right now. And how do we help each other get through this? I would say the first and most important thing is that we give each other grace, that we say, they likely didn't mean it that way. And if they did, it likely didn't have anything to do with me. And if it did, I'm going to walk away. That we help each other by not reacting to each other. Good question, though. The other thing, Randy, she knows, Randy's a fellow empath, and she's having a hard time not to block out the negatives. Amen, sister. So for those of you, so let's talk about empaths for a moment. Some of you are empathic, meaning you feel the emotions of people around you, and you know it. The biggest thing for you to do right now is to strengthen your barrier between outward emotions and your emotions. Okay, if you already know you're an empath, for each of us that can be different. For me, I have a light in the center of my chest, and I just imagine it billowing out and pushing away emotions that are not my own, good or bad. I don't want anybody else's emotions but mine. Now, let's compartmentalize. That's for people who already know they're empaths. There are some of you, because of the waves of energy coming into the world right now and our solar system, you didn't know, or you weren't as consciously aware that you're feeling the emotion of the person next to you, or across the room from you, or your next door neighbor, or you might be feeling the emotions of your community. You might be an empath who feels the emotions of your family. I think the biggest thing to remember is that you're not nuts. You might feel like you're crazy because these aren't your emotions. You're happy one moment, and the next thing you know is you're sad or you're mad or you're whatever. Where did that come from? Oh my God, I must be losing my mind, right? You're not losing your mind. You are feeling the emotions of the people around you because you have a gift. And like any gift, if unmanaged, it can make you feel a bit nuts. So to Randy's question, what can I do right now with a negative? So here's a few things. First of all, words mean things. Watch your mouth. Stop speaking negative. You're feeding the negative entities, the negative spirits that are in the world that thrive on negativity. You also have got to ruthlessly eliminate negative people from your life. This doesn't mean people who disagree with you, okay? I have tons of people who disagree with me, but they disagree civilly and respectfully. This is about the people who thrive on negativity, hate language, disparity. They thrive on dissension. These are the people, they love to argue. They're not trying to resolve anything. They just are angry. And that's where they live. And so the two biggest things is watch your self-talk, watch your negative self-talk, and eliminate the negative people out of your life. Now, the next thing, Randy, is work on building your bubble. And I can, Dr. Michael Smith has a great group for empaths, and they talk about how do you build that spiritual, psychic, emotional bubble that pushes away the emotions of other people. I want to tell you, if there's some of you who are feeling this for the first time, you're not nuts. It is your spiritual gifts being enhanced by the cosmic energies that are coming into the universe. And you can retake your personal power and manage this. So I hope that helped. Let's see. Suzanne says, how do we know how to ask for help if we don't know what we need? My favorite question. Tony DeMaio, who I think is on this call right now, but if she's not, our spirit guides at birth, every major religion, Christianity, Catholicism, talks about angels and spirits who are made. Their purpose is to help us. Most modern religions diminish those relationships, but they are not censored by God. God made angels, and there are helping angels, and we have a higher self that can help us. And so, quite honestly, Suzanne, you don't have to know how to ask. You can just be still and say, help, I need help. And then ask for guidance in what to do, where to go, directions to take. You may say, I need help making this decision. The more specific you are, the more specific the help and the answer will be. But our angels and spirit guides cannot come into our life unless we ask them. They are waiting for us. And when we pray, when we reach out, when we say, you know, God, I need some help, you know, send your angels and guides to help me. That's how that happens. Teresa says, additional tools. Yes. Hello, Bonnie and Laura Prater. Kay Ray, Donna Hoffmeyer. Oh my gosh. Okay, I see a lot of, okay, Jamie, I'm going to say that you're an unmanaged empath, maybe is what you mean. Meditation, Donna talks about, silence. So let's talk about that for a minute, because Mary Elizabeth says it just right. You know, sponge up all the feels. So I am not going to say that this was structured on purpose, but our culture is structured for noise. And I want you to think about this. We are not set up for silence. And silence, there's a few things you should know. Cognitively, our brain manufactures more brain cells in silence than it does when there's things going on. So if you want to be smarter, if you want to be more intuitive, if you want to be more balanced and centered and have more to work with, which I don't know about you, but I can use all the brain cells I can get, silence and meditation is your friend. The other thing is we're like gorging on noise, thinking that it's going to offer us consolation. And so as we're looking for peace, we're looking for noise. I'm going to find a show. I'm going to listen to this radio show. I'm going to, watch this movie. And we're just inundating and bombarding ourselves with more noise and more noise and more noise. And we wonder why we can't find peace. But when we're silent, what happens is we are unmanaged as, now I forgot who said that. Janie, we are unmanaged in our thoughts. And part of retaking control is discipline. I know it sounds counterintuitive. Discipline is actually freedom, because when you don't exert discipline over yourself, you're literally subject to your whims and your passions and, oh, look, a butterfly. But as you develop spiritual, mental, and emotional self-control, you are more able to manage your thoughts. And so being in your quietness and shushing all the noise, all the thoughts, all the feels, and just being in that moment is actually something that can create a more powerful aura of protection for you as well as spiritual strength from which you can grow. The biggest negative person, oh yeah, I know the biggest negative person in your life, Randy. Definitely have to make some choices about that. I deal until I can't, and then I seem to blow. So Janie, here's the deal on that. That's emotional intelligence. We have to manage our emotions at the front end, or as you say, at the back end, we do explode, and then we all suffer. Everybody suffers. And so I don't know that I missed any questions. If anybody has any more questions, we are going to be talking about how to meditate, how to be quiet. As I said, Tony DeMaio is on this, just scroll through the thread. You can reach out to her for some one-on-one spiritual coaching. She's my spiritual coach. She's magnificent. Yes, Donna makes a good comment. One of the things we're going to be talking about is keeping a tidy house. It's about keeping a tidy mental house and emotional house, a tidy spiritual house. We have been tricked into thinking that freedom means we just do whatever. And the reality is that freedom without discipline is chaos, because we are at the mercy of our whims and at the mercy of our passions, at the mercy of our weakness. But as we discipline ourselves, we get to make choices. I'm going to choose to do this. I'm going to choose to do that. And that, my friends, is true freedom. When I choose not to lose my shit because someone's making me nuts about whatever they're posting on Facebook. When I choose to be quiet. When I choose not to do something, or to do something that I don't want to do because I know it's in my best interest. That's freedom, because I'm in control. Freedom is when you're in control, and that comes from self-discipline. And so all that we're going to be talking about is, how do you retake all the power that you give up every single damn day? Because we don't know any better. Nobody's taught us these things. Mary Elizabeth, just randomly there. I love that. So Janie, yes, self-control. That's what all this is about. I am not going to belabor the point. I'm not talking just to hear myself talking. I really want you guys to know, you are the person you've been waiting for to save you. You are the person that God has in mind to take you to the next level. I know that we've been taught that I do believe in one infinite creator. I do believe that we were made for love and service. But beyond that, I believe that in many cases, religion is the machinations of human beings, and that we have gotten stuck in some ruts about who saves who. And I believe that we have the power to save ourselves from many things, that we have the power, we have been imbued with the power, we can make choices on how to use that power to save ourselves. And this is to save ourselves from bad relationships, from bad choices, to save ourselves from pain and suffering, to save ourselves from a life gone astray. So the thing to remember is, this entire thing is not about anybody else. We have really just got to stop focusing on, they need to do this in order for my life. That's conditional happiness. And that means you have given up your power. Well, if somebody does this, then I'm going to be happy. If they do that, then I can live a good life. None of that. These are the kind of changes that I'm going to ask you to be making in these next few weeks. Okay, I don't think anybody else has any more questions, and I'm not going to just talk to hear myself talk. So you guys have blessed me. My heart is full. I'm so grateful to be here and to have had all y'all on. And so the first session is coming up Wednesday, and it's about emotional intelligence. And these are nitty gritty, and it's fast and furious. We'll have the PowerPoint again. I'll have some stuff that I can email or message you, links, documents. This is really meaty stuff, but you have the choice to retake your personal power, and I want y'all to do that. So until we get together again, my friends, you have been zinced.